Brad and Mike here, and welcome to The Football Show, your one-stop shop and source for all things amateur football in Manitoba. Mike, we got a great show here, action-packed, tons of great guests, and after 3 weeks off, we're talking football again, so you got to be excited.
Absolutely, super excited. But before we get going, I just want to thank the Sport for Life Center here for giving us the opportunity to broadcast today from the Manitoba Sports Hall of Fame, the Canada Games Sport for Life Center, pardon me. And just a little bit of info here. The Manitoba Sports Hall of Fame is perfect for hosting events of any kind, including team windups, birthday parties, receptions, and fantasy sports drafts. To book your event, contact the gallery coordinator on our website, manitobahalloffame.ca.
Oh, we're going to be doing our fantasy football draft from here. That you can
bet on that.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Now that I know that this is an option, I know we also got our special guest, Kenny Plain, in the background. He's
not as talkative as usual. But
absolutely. He's okay. He's a little reserved in his current state. But let's talk a little bit about the format. Of course, this is a football show, so we break it up into quarters, don't we?
We do, absolutely. So we've got a first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, and different segment for every single quarter that we have. So we always have news in the first quarter, and that's not going to change today. And today we're talking Team Manitoba U16 in the first quarter. They recently came back from a trip to Edmonton, right. Competing in the Western Challenge, which is a four-team it's not really a round robin. It's more of if you win, you're immediately in the gold medal game. Right. So just sort of a win and in type situation. And so first quarter, we're going to break down the news and stats from that tournament. Team Manitoba came back with the silver and represented really well. So that's going to be our first quarter discussion.
Absolutely. Anytime when Manitoba can perform well in the national level or even the Western level is a huge boost for Manitoba football across the board.
Certainly, it absolutely is. Yeah, and on that note too as well, I mean, our U16 team, not just this year, but in past years as well, has done a tremendous job with the coaching staffs as well, and Jeff Reddy being the head coach. We'll talk to him a little bit later, but we'll get to that a little bit further on in the program. Going into the second quarter, we're going to continue with the news. We're going to go to the U18 level, Football Canada Cup. Manitoba had their first game at 11 o'clock this morning, actually. I was at work watching it on the computer. Manitoba took on the heavily favored Saskatchewan team. Not only heavily favored in this game, but to win the entire tournament, actually. And we'll talk a little bit about that. Manitoba didn't come out on top in that contest, but we'll dissect things. No, they did not. But we will dissect things a little bit. There were some positives from that game. So we'll talk a little bit about that in the second quarter.
Yeah, second quarter, we're going to be talking about U18 football, and as far as Manitoba goes, slightly different from the U16. Winnipeg, Manitoba's really in tough. A lot of these players that from other provinces, they have programs where they're on the football field playing 4 quarters of football more often and more recently to Manitoba's athletes. So that gives them a little bit of a leg up, and I think when Jeff comes on, we're going to talk to him a little bit about getting a program kick-started that might give Manitobans a little bit more of a fighting chance when they get to that U18 level. Absolutely.
We're definitely going to discuss with him a little bit about the transitions from U16 to U18. Talk a little bit about some of his players that did really well at the tournament as well. And that segues perfectly to the third quarter. Jeff is going to join us live via satellite.
Yes.
He's a family man. He's got some family duties back at home.
Hawaii.
Yeah, you know, he's a little bit ways off, but making the dedication to come on the football show. So I can't say enough thanks to Jeff for that, and we'll talk to him in the third quarter. And in the fourth quarter, finishing things off strong, moving the chains, we're going to talk a little bit of junior football with the Winnipeg Rifles. We're going to have 2 players on. Fifth-year receiver Griffin Shillingford and second-year running back Mathe Mitayango. They're going to come onto the program, preview the Winnipeg Rifles, sort of how their training has been going in the off-season, and also discuss their close personal relationship. It's a really cool story, Brad, and I think you're really going to enjoy that.
Hey, there's tons of great stories in the world of football, and the Rifles are always a breeding ground for them. Looking forward to talking to those 2 young gentlemen.
Certainly. Stay tuned. We'll be back after the break.
jungle.
A quality new or used vehicle is only 20 minutes away at Steeltown Ford in Selkirk. We're a family-run dealership that offers you big city selection at small-town pricing. So make your way down to Steeltown Ford today, where Sergeant says,
"Get it done!"
At the beginning of July, Jeff Reddy and Team Manitoba's U16 squad headed to battle in Edmonton for the Western Challenge, a four-team, four-game format which saw Toba finish strong with a silver medal. The team's first game was against Saskatchewan, and they came out on top, 20-10. We're loading up the stats here, which you should see on your screen right now. The game was led by Manitoba's Negus Lewin at running back. He was on the team last year as a 13-year-old.
Impressive.
Let me repeat that. A 13-year-old on a U16 team and performed well, and he did even better this time around. A little bit stronger, a little bit faster, ability to read the holes more, and he really shone against Saskatchewan, finishing the game with 16 carries for 131 yards and 2 touchdowns. Brad, tell me about the average per carry that's given you and really how much effort he's putting in per play.
Well, first of all, a 50-yard gain is going to look good on anybody's game sheet. But when you can back that up with 8 yards a carry, over 8 yards every single carry, and then show some finish with 2 touchdowns, that's a dominating performance, regardless of what level you're playing football at. And obviously, he's been playing at this level, a high national level, for 2 seasons now, and showing great promise. I expect good things from him.
Negus Lewin played for Greendale for his community days.
Go Falcons.
Go Falcons. He's a recent commit to the Vincent Massey Trojans program, so they've got a good one with him at running back for sure. But he was also supported with a great game by fellow Vincent Massey player Jordan Hanslip at quarterback, finished with 179 yards passing, and really distributed the ball well. But another thing he did really well was running outside of the pocket, and even just feeling the pocket collapse at times, was able to sort of move outside and throw on the run, and really demonstrate that multifaceted sort of ability that he has. He was on the team last year, and Jeff Reddy was really looking for him to perform this series as the team's starting quarterback, and he did just that. A tremendous game from him. And I will mention too, I mean, I talked a little bit about how he moved onto the pocket, but that's not to say the offensive line was not doing the job. The Manitoba's offensive line had a tremendous tournament as well.
Oh, so, with rushing yards like that, obviously, the
Hogs
were working.
Rushing yards,
and the protection of a quarterback at that level, you need time to go through your reads, probably more time than any other level of football. Mm-hmm. They were Jordan was afforded that, and for that reason, he was able to complete a 74-yard touchdown pass, as well as 30 yards on the ground as well. So producing over 200 yards total for any football team is huge. Between him and your running back there, they're well into the 300s as far as just total offense produced, that's massive.
And if you factor Negas's, we're not going to pull it up because I actually don't know where it is on this page, but if you factor in Negas's punt return and kick return yards, his all-purpose yards were through the roof. So absolutely tremendous, showing from obviously both of those guys, but from the entire team offensively on that side of the ball. Let's transition now to the defensive side of the ball. And St. Paul's really showing up. The Crusaders had two, we'll mention a third player from St. Paul's in the gold medal game when Manitoba faced Alberta, but I want to highlight two defensive linemen that really stood out for Manitoba in the semifinal. One of them was Zach Lytle. He had a great game, 3 tackles and a quarterback sack, and that was one player that Jeff Reddy really sort of, you know, it was one of those things where when I was interviewing before they went out to Edmonton and he said to me, I don't want to pump up his tires too much, you know, I don't want to give him that sort of inflated ego, but you know what, he showed up big. This is a guy, Zach Lytle, 6'3", 170 pounds, and he's less than 16 years of age. He still has so much growth and development to do. Man-child. Just physical specimen, just an absolute tremendous, off the edge, his edge rush, sort of that dip, you know, that those good, you know, defensive ends have at that next level, which is something that you learn from. He's already got that a little bit and really showed it on the defensive side of the ball. And his counterpart, fellow St. Paul's player Liam McDonald, he's 6'4", 180 pounds. So
something in the water over there at St. Paul's.
They definitely have a couple good ones there for the next couple of years. He had a tremendous game too. He had 2 tackles, a quarterback sack, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. And the forced fumble recovery, which came on the sack, was really important. That came into time in the game. Saskatchewan had the momentum. Their quarterback was doing well in terms of gaining chemistry with his receivers. It looked like Saskatchewan was sort of gonna overcome Manitoba in that game. Liam McDonald lays that hit down. Saskatchewan's quarterback came back into the game, their starter, but he was out for a little bit, and it sort of turned the tide back to Team Manitoba. And also, I will say, Manitoba had 6 turnovers in the game, combined through defense, special teams as well. So big shout out to defensive coordinator Sean Oley. Did a tremendous job with that defense and had them rolling, good enough to earn Manitoba a shot at the gold medal at the Western Challenge.
Yeah, they did an amazing job, and those twin towers from St. Paul's clearly were a disturbance. Anytime you can sack the quarterback and sometimes sack him so hard that he ends up coughing up the football, that's going to create problems for an offense. And then with, unfortunately, the Saskatchewan quarterback having to leave the game, you don't want to see injuries ever, but that does definitely give you a little bit of leg up later on in the game. You take the field general off the field, someone who's directing traffic, and it's just utter chaos from any offenses having to overcome something like that. And Manitoba was able to basically administer that and then capitalize on top of it. So they did a great job.
Certainly. So Manitoba was able to move on to the gold medal game. They took on the hosts Alberta for the gold medal, and it started off well for Manitoba. They led 14-10 at halftime. Were getting things going a little bit, but then struggled in the third quarter defensively. Alberta just looked like a completely different team in the third quarter. 35 unanswered points. They went on to defeat Manitoba 47-21. But Manitoba showed heart all 4 quarters of the football game. They never gave up, and a few players to highlight still from that game that really stood out. I want to start on the offensive side of the ball. Yes, Peyton Lake received another Vincent Massey commit. He had 3 receptions for 76 yards and a touchdown. His longest was 50. And there was also a couple of other plays where he took some hard hits. He was really, you know, making some sacrifices for his quarterback out there. So really stood out for me offensively for Team Manitoba in that game.
And getting the lion's share of the targets here, showing that you can go back to the well with him. He's going to find the open space, and he's going to be productive enough to continue to catch passes. Basically, he had three receptions with it, which is 1 more than everyone on the team, and like he himself was almost half of the offensive production from throwing the ball. So he definitely made a difference.
Certainly. Transitioning to the defensive side of the ball, Nicholas Pereira, that's that third St. Paul's player I mentioned a little bit earlier on, and goodness gracious, did he ever have a football game. 7 tackles.
2 games, actually. The first game he had 5 tackles, now 7 tackles.
So 12 cumulative tackles and a quarterback sack for Pereira, really shone. But the reason I bring him up in this game was just because he seemed to scrape to the ball really well. His vision was tremendous. His speed, his blitzing ability, he was in the backfield all game long. And there's one particular hit that I need to bring up. This happened in the first quarter. It was sort of on a read option play from the Alberta quarterback. He did a little bit of a shovel pass to his running back, and you'll see it popped up on your screen right there. That's Nicholas Pereira laying the boom down on the Alberta running back. So hard that the Alberta ball carrier's helmet fell off of his head there. Now, I don't advocate helmet-to-helmet shots. Now, I'm not going to say that was. I don't know if he was at chin level like when that first happened.
Right.
Nonetheless.
That's the follow-through there.
Yeah, that's the follow-through perhaps. But nonetheless, it was definitely a profound hit and had the crowd really excited right at the start of the game there. So definitely have to give Nicholas Pereira a shout-out for definitely being the best defensive player in that game for Manitoba and really setting the tempo at that point for his squad as well.
For sure, and setting the tone for most likely a very productive high school season. He'll be ripped and ready to go for that. And if you look closely in that photo, it looks like his opponent's chin strap might not be as tight as maybe it needs to be for that situation. So maybe in the future that player will cinch things up nice and tight when he knows that a guy like Pereira is lurking.
Certainly, and that's actually a great segue for our next show where we're going to be talking a little bit about player safety and about proper equipment and all those sorts of things, and sort of obviously having your chin strap done up properly is a key part of that. You know, I know some guys, they undo their chin strap a little bit because they like to breathe, you know, they like to feel that, you know, their mouth guard if it's too tight. You like to be able to have that motion, but that's one of the products of that is sometimes your helmet flies off and it's a high risk of a concussion.
And you see at the pro level a lot of times guys will leave the one strap undone, or they won't have it as tight as it needs to be. But of course, that's the pro level. Those guys can do whatever they want with their lives, and they're also getting paid handsomely to do it. At the amateur level, you want to have that thing not too tight, but tight, keeping the helmet secure, because that's what's saving you out there. Because you get hits like this. Certainly,
and again, we'll be talking about that on a later show. Going to have Bill Johnson from Football Manitoba come on and discuss a little bit about that. But that's all we got for the U16 level. Again, congratulations to Jeff Reddy and everybody from Team Manitoba on a great showing. Really represented Toba well and came back with a silver medal. So congratulations to the entire coaching staff, all the players, everybody involved at any level for that on a tremendous showing. And a great job. Stay tuned. We'll be back after this.
Thank you.
Welcome to MB Seeds. I'm Matt and this is B, and we're a family-run business. We've been operating since 2012, and we sell canola, soybeans, corn, wheat, barley, oats, and peas. We also run a cleaning facility on site just south of Low Farm where we can clean almost anything that you can grow. Come check us out today.
At Super 8 Winnipeg West, we have your comfort in mind, with free Wi-Fi and free daily Superstart breakfast. We also have guest laundry facilities, a state-of-the-art fitness center, and a jetted hot tub. Sleep well in a spacious guest room equipped with plush new bedding, a 50-inch flat-screen HD TV, microwave, mini refrigerator, and Keurig coffee maker. Or book a suite with a kitchen, ideal for extended stays. Super 8 Winnipeg West, located just inside the perimeter on Portage Avenue.
We're back here on the football show. Mike and Brad heading into the second quarter and breaking
Manitoba Sports Hall of Fame. Kenny's still doing
Hall of Fame?
All right, Kenny's still hanging out.
Looks like he's doing
Absolutely,
okay back there.
Yeah. Knees bent, ready to go at all times. Kenny hanging out with us here on the football show.
Absolutely. We're talking
Second quarter.
Second quarter, we're talking under 18 Football Canada Cup now, which just kicked off today, actually, this morning. Team Manitoba participated in their first game against a heavily favored Saskatchewan team that not only was favored to win this football game, but also the tournament in general.
Yeah.
And the game turned out, I think, the way a lot of people expected it to. I don't necessarily think people expected the score is going to be 48-6 for Saskatchewan, but nonetheless, that was the final score. It's not ideal to sort of start the game off with a fumble recovery for a touchdown. Manitoba took the opening kickoff, fumbled, and Saskatchewan scored, and they sort of had the momentum from the rest of that game on.
Yep.
That's not to say that Manitoba was fully dominated. I think defensively they played really, really well. Offensively, they had some struggles. The Saskatchewan defense, one of the Saskatchewan players had 3 sacks just in and of himself, and Manitoba had a hard time sort of getting their passing game going. Defensively, though, they held up pretty well, and a couple players really stood out for me on that end at the U18 level. Isaac Dawkin and Isaiah Latander, both out of Steinbach. Latander is a defensive lineman, and Dawkin is a linebacker. They're both great with penetration in the run game, and really were a couple of bright spots on the defense for that Manitoba squad. And then if we're looking at the offensive side of the ball, the quarterback duo of Tay Jesse as well as Jackson Tachinsky. I like what they did outside of the pocket. Obviously that pass rush forced them to be scrambling a little bit and on the run, but both of them are very athletic quarterbacks. Tay Jesse, of course, has played running back as well, and a lot of times, if put in certain situations, the coach might put your most athletic player at quarterback, give him some of those read option situations. So Tay Jesse flashing his athleticism and also obviously Tachinsky. So those are a couple guys that stood out. And Dion Nelson is another guy I'd like to mention. On the River East, he had Manitoba's lone touchdown of the game, actually on a really nice sort of diving catch in the end zone. So a couple players that stood out despite the loss.
Yeah, making his quarterback look good on that one. I totally agree. The game itself, based on what you see from the box score and the time of possession, and football is one of those games that can really get away on you. Certainly, not to say that Manitoba wasn't outplayed here, but when you have that little of offensive time on the field, it's tough to get things going. Your defense is out there all day long, and they're getting tired. They had harder to create a bit of a flow, and all those things kind of added up together to the final score, which looks very lopsided, but does not speak to the ability of the Manitoba defense to actually stop the bleeding from time to time. Things could have been a lot worse. We've seen bigger blowouts in football in the past. Although this isn't a great look for Manitoba, I would definitely say that they gave Saskatchewan, they gave them a game. They were able to get a touchdown, which is Saskatchewan. Those guys were probably looking for a goose egg. Those guys want to shut people out. And they take football very seriously, and they came to play. And I think Manitoba did too, but like I said, game flow as well as a tough opponent in Saskatchewan, that's your result.
Certainly, and absolutely. That's not a discredit to head coach Ryan Carr, the coaching staff, or any of the players. They fought hard all game long, and it's just tough when you get down. Football is a game of momentum. Of course, we saw that with the BC Lions and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers football game, a tale of two halves. It's completely a game of momentum, and so when Saskatchewan comes out there, immediately gets a touchdown on the opening kickoff of a fumble recovery. Now all of a sudden you're in a situation
they're all
where
cock and walk. They're moving, they're shaking, they're feeling good about what they're doing, and Manitoba already not favored in that game. 15 seconds into it, you're looking at 7 to a goose egg, and you're not feeling good. So you're not able to play with the intensity and the execution that's necessary to beat an opponent that's favored ahead of yours. And I think it spelled for a game that just wasn't going to work out in their favor.
Certainly. And Manitoba, in terms of how they've played and performed in the Canada Cup over the past few seasons, they've been sort of that 5th, 6th place area. And of course now with the loss, they're automatically out of medal contention.
Right.
So their next game is going to be on Thursday afternoon, where they'll face the winner of, I believe it's Nova Scotia and Ontario, to see who they battle it out with to sort of play for 5th or 6th place. So stay tuned for that for the next game Thursday afternoon. Obviously, we'll have all the details for you for that when on our next show in 2 weeks' time. We'll break that down, the complete results from the Canada Cup and how Manitoba did overall with their performance.
Absolutely. Now we're going to throw it to we're going to go to the commercial break right away. Before we do, we'll let you know what's going on for our halftime show. We've got some cheerleaders, we've got dancers, we've got music. Like always here at the Manitoba Sports Hall of Fame, they can host a party, and while we're on commercial break, we will be having an absolute knockdown, drag-out party here, where it's just going to be it's going to be off the hook, and I'm sorry the fans at home won't be able to watch it.
You better believe it.
Yeah,
stay tuned.
Absolutely.
Hey ladies and gentlemen, Derek here at Adventure Power Products, and summer's here. Motorcycle season is on us and we're ready to roll. If you're considering a new motorcycle this season, we want you to stop and check out Adventure Power Products and give us an opportunity to earn your business. We have 3 great motorcycle lines for you to choose from, and they're all here, all under one roof for you to check out. We've got great programs from our manufacturers this season. We've got the Kawasaki financing as low as 0% OAC. We've got Suzuki's up to 5 years of extended warranty programs. And of course, our new Moto Guzzi line. This is where art meets technology. If you haven't checked out the line, you've got to come by and see us firsthand to see and appreciate how beautiful these bikes are. Coming in to see Adventure, remember, when you're buying your bike from us, you've got a dealership that is MPI certified for all of your safety needs as well as insurance claims. We also have our technicians that are fully certified in all the lines that we carry, so you know you're going to be in good hands. You want to come down and take a look at a bike while you're getting your bike in for service. We have the Capo Coffee Lounge. Come sit and relax, enjoy the Wi-Fi, our vintage motorcycles here on display, magazines to read. We've got you looked after so you can enjoy your stay while you're getting your oil changed or what have you. We've got you looked after. And remember folks, first-time riders, remember to check out our setup at Safety Services when you're taking your beginner course. We have special discounts for first-time riders. Picking up your new bike, nervous about taking it on the road? We'll look after that too. We'll deliver your bike to your house at no charge with anywhere within the city limits. Remember, we're only 7 minutes outside the perimeter, 4-lane highway, quick drive. We'll get you looked after. We'll get your bike delivered to your garage so you can start at your pace and be comfortable on that new motorcycle. And remember folks, we are Kawasaki's only full-line motorcycle dealer in Manitoba, and we are Suzuki's #1 motorcycle dealer in Manitoba. Come check us out, Derek at Adventure Power Products, 204-878-3194, or again, adventurepowerproducts.com. Thanks for listening.
Hi, I'm Cassandra Curia with Fair & Fitness. We're located in Ile-des-Chênes, Manitoba. We do everything from personal training, group training classes, yoga and flexible steel. We also focus on young athletes. We do not only just the strength and conditioning, but the agility, power, rotational control and strength, and flexibility, stability, and mobility is always super important. You can find us at fairandfitness.ca and come check us out.
So early on in the program, Brad and I talked a little bit about Team Manitoba's U16 performance at the Western Challenge, and we have the man himself with us now live via satellite. Jeff Reddy, a family man back in his home here. Jeff, thanks so much for taking the time to join us on the program.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for working with me. I had to stay home tonight, so.
Yeah, not a problem at all, Jeff. And congratulations first off on that silver medal and a tremendous showing.
Thank you very much.
And I want to just start off with discussing a couple of the players that we talked about a little bit in the lead up to the tournament and just how you thought they did overall. And I have to start with Negus. I mean, obviously 13 years old last year, comes in here a year wiser, stronger, and he really just demonstrated that through the whole tournament. Was a tough, rugged runner, run through the tackles, ran outside. Talk to me about how you thought he performed.
He was lights out. He was amazing, like you said, in between the tackles, outside the tackles. But our offensive line was unreal in the run game. Our guards, Gavin and Kyle, we ran a lot of that. Our power play, that first game against Saskatchewan, and they were just cleaning house. And like I said, everybody did their job in that game. And Negus, having the skill set he has, looked like a superstar because of it. And he definitely did a lot on his own, but the offensive line really made that happen.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about that O-line a little bit earlier on too. Obviously, you can't do it on your own, and it's a team effort, and that definitely showed. Talk to me a little bit about Jordan Hanslip too, quarterback under Vincent Mathe. That obviously you mentioned was penned to be the starter last year. Things didn't work out the way maybe you expected. Talk to me about how he developed this year and the way he distributed the ball too. He had, I think, at least 7 or 8 different guys with at least 1 reception. So, what did you like from him?
I liked a lot of what Jordan did. Like you said, his ball distribution was awesome. He made good reads, and just his ability to step up into the pocket and make something happen. Like, I never knew that kid could run that decent. Like, last year he would have just been standing in the pocket like a statue and kind of eating hits. And I don't know what speed program he went on, but he was stepping up into the pocket, and then he took off a few times, and we were like, oh wow, okay. We didn't know he could run like that, but it was his pocket presence was incredible. Again, just a testament to the effort he puts in with his coaching. Like I mentioned to you previously, like he works with JC Boyce when he's in town. He's a recruit ready. I believe he's working with Big Air. Like, all this kid wants to do is play quarterback, and of course he's got Kelsey McKay as well, who's one of the best at what he does in high school league. So he's surrounded himself with good people, and he's a student of the game, and it's definitely helped him.
Yeah, like you said, those JC Boyce, I mean, Kelsey McKay, recruit. I mean, you can't set yourself up with anything better than those programs, Big Air Academy, for a young pivot to really learn the ropes and get comfortable.
And he does a really good job working with like Ian Bowie, our quarterback coach. It's the second year with him. Their relationship this year just took that next step.
That's huge.
And, Ian and him got along like extremely well, and it helped. Like, they could talk to each other, they bounce ideas off each other, and I think that was a massive thing too. Like, just in terms of how to understand the system and really break things down as to where he was last year to where he was this year. Ian was a huge part of that.
Definitely. Let's transition to the defensive side of the ball. And another guy that you brought up to me before you guys left, Zach Lytle. You mentioned you didn't want to pump his tires too much and inflate his ego, but boy, did he show up. And not only him, but also Liam McDonald and also Nicholas Pereira, 3 St. Paul's guys that really showed up. What did you like from your defense overall and those 3 guys specifically?
Our defensive staff did a fantastic job. Coach Oleskowicz, Coach Harper, Coach Taylor, Coach Miller, our new mentor linebacker coach. They were just on point the entire process, and really got the guys to buy into the system that we were doing defensively. Zach, the way he transitioned, like, we already knew he had the skill set, but his transition into the leadership role that he took this year was like, it was beautiful to see. Like, it was, the guys would joke about the players would joke a little bit about how Zach was the tattletale, but it was funny. He never really actually telling anybody, but he was. They were just having fun at his expense. But his leadership just went through the roof this year. Liam McDonald, we called him Marshall. Coach Harper forgot his name and just kind of ran with it. He was Marshall the entire term. But again, lights out. Our interior guys were solid when they needed to be. And yeah, Nick Pereira and Jason, like, all 3 of our backers, like Max Bosk from Massey and Jason Rashasti from Massey as well. He was our Game 1 MVP on defense. And he actually won Defensive Player of the Game in the Black and Gold game. The combination of those guys just, it helped. It made everything kind of jive and made up until the third quarter of that gold medal game, our secondary's job a lot easier.
All right, now that's great analysis, my friend. And now it's my turn to get my my claws into you a little bit. It's Brad Gebhardt here, second host, and let's get the 10,000-foot view of this program as it's progressed for the last couple of years, 3-4 years now. Some of the changes that have gone on to better prepare these athletes to perform at the U16 level. What are some of the changes that you've implemented from maybe 3 years ago to now, and how those have positively affected the team going forward?
Well, we kind of changed. Myself, Bill Johnston, and Ryan Carhut sat down, and we're planning out the program how we wanted to do it. In previous years, we'd always done 3 weekends of phase 1, which was our initial ID camp, and it was six practices over, and it sometimes spanned over 2 months because of the field availability. Right, we don't have the ability in March to go outside here, so we decided that this year we would try to condense everything a little bit more. So we went near the end of April, and we did a weekend of 2-a-days for phase 1, and then we selected our 90 players for the black and gold game, and then over May long weekend we played the black and gold game, which again typically used to be a 1 week practice and then a game on a Saturday.
Right, it's quick.
We went again to the 2-a-day system, and one of the big reasons that we made the switch also is we have a special relationship with the ability to have players from Thunder Bay and Northwest Ontario come and participate with us. And in years past, we would select those players out of the black and gold game, but because you get players who participate in phase 1, participate in black and gold, and all of a sudden you're like, okay, well, thanks for coming out for 2 weeks, but we're going to take this kid from Thunder Bay, right? So it's now it brings them in. It allows us to see how they are in our system, and if they fit in with the players, with their character. Like last year, we ended up with 8 players, and we had to learn what these kids were about in 6 days. So it's hard to do. This year we had each phase, and they were all great kids, but it made it a lot easier for us. And then the final phase, we did things differently this year as well, again, because we had 7 players from out of town. Typically, we would always go the first Monday to Friday, the week before we left for the tournament.
Right.
And this year we condensed it to Monday to Sunday, and we flew it on, Monday to Sunday, then we flew out the following Monday to Edmonton. And we would do Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we had a walkthrough period for an hour and a half prior to an actual practice. And it really helped the kids understand things and kind of put things together. And it seemed to work. Everybody seemed to really like the way we kind of transitioned things this year away from years past.
Yeah, absolutely. And hats off to you guys. I know my experiences with the provincial team is that it was always a really quick turnaround, and it's very difficult to get a team to gel in such a short amount of time, getting the team to kind of understand each other's body language, really start to really become a team unit. And that's really what you need to be successful on the football field, is that unity and the communication, which is basically in such a short amount of time, it's 100% the onus on that is on the coaching staff, and you guys did a phenomenal job with that, clearly.
Thank you. It's all you surround yourself with, and I'm fortunate to be able to coach with these guys. Like a few of them I coached at one point, a couple of them I played with, a couple of guys I just met through the community. But it's all who you surround yourself with, and I've been fortunate to pick awesome individuals to come out and they really make this thing go.
For sure. If you surround yourself with good people, and good things will happen. Let's talk a little bit about the contrast in the performances and the results of the U16 team and the U18 team. Obviously, with a silver medal performance, that's a hugely positive thing in the tournament that you guys just participated in, and congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Absolutely. You're welcome. And basically, like, cross-reference that to the struggles that the U18 team has had in the past. What is it that the other provinces are doing mostly to give their other teams a leg up at the U18 level? And what can Manitoban athletes do to basically even the playing field a little bit, become more competitive? Because somewhere in that 2-year span, we're losing a little bit of ground.
I don't know if there's a simple answer. Like a lot of it is like we have a geographic advantage, right, where most of our kids come from one area, whereas the other provinces are kind of spread out. But I mean, a lot of it is just also the amount of kids playing. Like, we have geographic advantage, but Alberta's phase 1 camp, or their ID camp, initial ID camp, has 400 kids at it. Like, I mean, it's not to make it sound like an excuse, but you're picking out of 400, right? And not to say that our 100, almost 200 kids is a step down, but like you're going to find those diamonds in the rough and those special guys. For sure, and the guys that are committed to the weight room and everything. I think one of the things that's going to help is this U16 program, though. Like I mentioned to Mike when we talked previously a couple weeks ago about they used to have the Red River Cup here, and it fell off, and they tried to kind of resurrect it with Saskatchewan and kind of did a bus tour, and it was good. And then Football Canada grabbed a hold of the U16 program now, and we have the East and West, which has been successful the first 2 years that they've done it. But now you're introducing kids to the U16 high performance at an early age, and I think the main thing is just staff cohesion between the two groups, maybe. Kind of, maybe not exactly the same message, but kind of preaching the same type of ideas, where they just transition up, and they understand high performance at a low level, at a younger age, and they transition, and they understand what it takes now. They made the U16 program, they participated in it, so now they understand what it takes to make U18, and so on. So I think just continuously building a strong U16 program to get these kids to understand and transition up, and whether it's multi-sport or off-season strength and conditioning, it's super important that our players are involved in that sort of stuff.
Absolutely, I totally agree. And the reality is that we are a smaller population-wise, and if you have a bigger number of athletes coming out in general, you're going to have a larger number of completely bought-in, dedicated football athletes on top of that. So I totally get you there. But it's good to hear that Manitoba is implementing programs that are having a bigger opportunity for more athletes to start taking things seriously at a younger level, and I think that starts to rub off on the other athletes as well.
Absolutely. We had, I asked our U16 guys when we were in Edmonton, we implemented a strength and conditioning program run out of the Sport for Life Center there. And we started it in January, I believe it was. And we had about 35 or 40 U16 kids in it, and about 25 of them actually made the final roster.
There you go.
Implementing that and getting kids to understand how important it is to be in the gym in the off season, or in the gym and doing other sports, and
period.
Working other muscles and understanding different things, right? And that's very important. And they started to do that, and now 25 individuals on our team are going, okay, well, now I understand that if I want to make U18, I got to step it up, and I need to be back in the gym and training for it.
Totally right.
You're absolutely right about that, Jeff. And I will say that obviously every coach, every player works as hard as they possibly can to perform at the provincial level. And I just want to give again a huge shout out to you, to Ryan, to everyone involved in any level of any provincial team, whether that be U16, U18, anything, for all the hard work that you all put in. And once again, congratulations on your performance. And it's been a pleasure talking to you, Jeff.
Thank you guys, and thank you guys for showcasing the provincial football league. What you guys are doing is great, and I hope it continues to build.
Our pleasure, Jeff. Again, thank you so much for being on the program.
Thanks, guys.
We'll be back after another short commercial break. Winnipeg Rifles officially kick off their 2018 regular season schedule on August 18th, while they'll be taking on the Edmonton Wildcats at home. And we've got two members of the Winnipeg Rifles right here on the show. To my nearest right is Griffin Shillingford. To my furthest right is Mathe Mitayango. Gentlemen, thank you both for coming on the program.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
A little bit of background about the two of them. Griffin played his high school football for the Kelvin Clippers, was a provincial champion with Kelvin, went on to play university football for Mount Allison for 2 years, came back in his last season of eligibility now with the Winnipeg Rifles, looking to finish things off in memorable fashion. Mathe played his high school ball for the Malsmac Buckeyes, was a standout offensively, played running back, played quarterback. Last year was his first year with the Winnipeg Rifles, where he suited up in all 8 games. The Rifles had 2 veterans at the running back position last year that Mathe was able to learn from, in Mike Rashad and Odin Ogden. But Mathe, the controls are in your hands now. You got the opportunity to be the guy at running back, and looking forward to seeing how you perform as well. So first things first, guys, nice easy question for you. How's training been going so far, and how are you guys prepping for the season?
Well, it's been going well. You know, we've had quite a few sessions per week, you know, working on like in the gym stuff, on the field stuff, positional training. We've been doing that stuff for months now, so it's going really well. Yeah, I think that, you know, it's going to really help out in the season come a couple weeks now until camp, so it'll really help us out, I think.
Mathe, does your approach change at all, knowing that your role on this team is different than last year and that you're expected to sort of carry the load a little bit more?
It feels like how you did in high school, but it just at a whole new level, and I'm actually just ready to step up. I've been training hard, and I feel great. I've been the best shape I've actually ever been now, so I'm ready to see what I can do this season.
Mathe, I want to stick with you for a second and talk to me a little bit about sort of your growth from high school to now, because you didn't start till a little bit later. You didn't start playing, I believe, till grade 10. And we'll get a little bit more into the personal details a little bit later on, but just how quickly were you able to develop and grow sort of even the body type you have now to be that physical power runner and succeed at the junior level? Not to toot your own horn, I mean, your own too much there, but...
Basically, it's all genetics. I'm joking, but no, I fell in love with the sport when my grade 10 year, and I started training after that, and my high school coach, Dan Washnuk, helped me out so much with that. He helped me with my agility, my speed, my footwork. He basically taught me the game. I have to thank him for that, and all the coaches at Malsmac.
Griffin, you're entering into a leadership role now. You're one of the veterans on this team now, and we've talked in the past how you've mentioned that you're not the most vocal guy in terms of, like, you know, going over to a dude on the sideline and being like, do this, do this type of thing. Good guy to have on a talk show if he's not. Yes, you know. But if somebody comes up to you, if you have another younger player, go, hey, you know, Griffin, can you show me how to maybe work on my dig route or you know, little intricacies? I mean, you're available to do that. So what do you see as your role in this team as a leader on offense, as a veteran, and as one of the guys that's expected to really be a big-time player for this team?
Yeah, well, you know, going into my 5th year in the Rifles now, it's more so, you know, I want to teach the younger guys how to become a leader and to play a bigger role every year. Like, we were talking to a couple of the guys who were rookies last year, and they were saying, oh yeah, like, what can I do to take that next step in my game this year? And I said, well, now, like, you're a veteran too. Like, you and I are in the same boat. Like, you have that kind of 1 year as a rookie where you're not really redshirted, but you got a little bit of comfort room there that you can, you know, learn to, like, grow as a player and all that. But now that you're a veteran, you have to take that next step. So if guys seek me out and ask for advice like that, I'm willing to give it, but I don't want to be, you know, talking to a brick wall and, you know, trying to give advice where it's not wanted. So that's just kind of my role there, is like, I'm here for you if you need me, but I'm also not going to, you know, push you to learn something that you might not really be ready to learn or want to learn just yet. So it's kind of taking it how it comes. And I like to see those younger guys kind of step up and want to learn, because it shows that you have the drive to kind of take your game to the next level. So.
Well, let's keep it kind of focused on the preparation of the season, mainly because we haven't started it yet. Yeah. But I know the two of you guys have been working very closely with the speed guru himself. He goes by the name of Glenn Bruce. Works with you guys basically weekly. I know you guys have been like putting pads on and working through things since all the way back in January, but working with Bruce, you're getting speed into your game. And tell us a little bit about the process of working with him and what he can bring to the table.
You want to take that?
You're the fast guy, so
let's start with the running back. I mean, I think that might work a little bit better.
Well, I started with Bruce when I came back from Ottawa in, what was it, June?
I think it was March or April.
I think it was March or spring.
For March. When I got back, I started doing the speed training. Now, the first day was actually pretty killer for me. Like, I haven't been doing that much speed, but now since we've grown up and like went further ahead, it's actually been helping me a lot. I feel faster and lighter on my feet. I mean, he just kept telling me like, you just gotta relax and run. I was so intense of running. So now that I feel more relaxed. It helped me out way better, and I feel great.
For sure, light on your feet, and then once some contact comes in, you can hit like you got a ton of bricks in your butt. So that's a huge benefit to you when you're taking contact, running into the teeth of the defense week after week. Now, you guys had a very successful season last year, ended up falling to the Hilltops from Saskatoon. Earlier, like last year, what do you guys need to do differently this year to implement and be that much more successful in 2018?
Well, honestly, I thought that game when we lost to Hilltops in the playoffs, that was kind of like our coming out party. Like, we might not have won, but just the fact that like there was guys that came in this past year that there was no stigma surrounding the Hilltops. Like, you know, a lot of guys who are going into their 5th year now have never won against them, right? So there's like this weird vibe around the Hilltops that they're unbeatable. And for a lot of us who came back this past year and rookies like Mathe, you know, we don't have that fear of the Hilltops. And I find that in the last game we played them, that was apparent. Like, they knew that we weren't scared of them, and you know, when we're going, you know, blow for blow with these guys, and they know we can play. So I think it takes having guys that aren't afraid of the Hilltops to beat the Hilltops. Like Regina and them, they're, you know, all Saskatoon kids. They all know each other, so they're really not, you know, afraid of anything. They're not afraid of the contact. They're not afraid of, you know, getting down by a couple touchdowns. So that's just, you know, our way of growing as players is by beating teams like that. And I think this year, it's just the understanding that we can do it, I think, is that. Because we've always had good coaching, we've always had good plays, we've always had good players, but it's just us believing that we can actually do it, I think.
For sure, not to glorify your opponent whatsoever, put them on a pedestal. You got to almost walk into a football game knowing that you can play with anybody and take your game to them.
Yeah, we all bleed, so.
There you go.
Exactly. They're not gods, that's for sure. So yeah, that's just how I see it. But.
Yeah. I want to transition to the relationship that the two of you guys have together. Talk to me a little bit about that. I mean, I'll provide the background a little bit. So, as it stands, you live together. Mathe lives with, I believe it's your mom and yourself. So, Griffin, talk to me about how that first began and just sort of the story around it.
Yeah. Well, I think that when Mathe came back from Ottawa, he was living with his aunt and uncle over there. And, of course, he wanted to still be a Winnipeg Rifle. And, you know, Coach Wilson was messaging him saying, you know, you have to be at these workouts and you have to be at camp. You can't just miss that. So when he came back, you know, he was looking for a place to stay. And I thought, what better place to stay than with someone who was like, we're both kind of on the same schedule and we both want to be great. We want to put in, you know, more work than everybody else. So it only kind of made sense for him to come live with me, because then, you know, I hold him accountable, he holds me accountable. We can both go to the gym at the same time, you know, make sure we're not missing workouts. But also in those workouts, especially with Glenn Bruce and those guys, like, you know, at elite training, we're all pushing each other. So especially him and I, we're always in competition. You know, we're talking about the fastest guy. Every time we're at Glenn Bruce's training, it's like, it's me and him, we're going. So it's like, you know, we hold ourselves to kind of a higher standard.
Fast company.
Exactly.
As a slight aside before we get back on topic here for a quick second, you mentioned the competition with Glenn Bruce, and he was my speed coach in high school. And that's something he preaches is competition, and so it definitely gets you ready for the season. Matt, I want to go to you, obviously, because, I mean, you're the benefactor of this a little bit. So just what does it mean to have a teammate reach out to you and sort of want to have you a little bit more personally in their life? And how have you grown as friends, not just on the field, but off the field?
I'm Griffin's roommate. Yeah, something different.
You guys have bunk beds? Or
Step brothers.
Not roommates, but housemates. Housemates.
Yeah. No roommates. Housemates.
Let's clarify.
But no. But no, I have older brothers. I have 4 older brothers, and I feel like he's one of my brothers. So it's nothing new to me, but I appreciate that he stepped up and helped me out with that, and now we just gotta get ready for the season, and like we push each other to our limit basically.
Yeah, every day, man.
Every day, yeah.
You know, every session, I think that, you know, we all come back and, you know, we're all sweaty and we're tired and we're just thinking like, man, like we really pushed it today. And maybe if we weren't there together, we wouldn't have got that same level. So.
Yeah.
I'm sure it helps on the field. I mean, you guys know each other so well that you can sort of sense maybe if one of you is sort of not giving 100%, or you can motivate each other too. It'd be like, you know, if you're having an off day or something, just be like, you know, I got your back type situation, which is always super valuable, but especially when you have an even tighter relationship.
For sure.
The two of you do have. Gentlemen, thanks so much for coming on the program. I really appreciate both of your time, and best of luck with this upcoming season. You guys, it's plenty of excitement surrounding the Rifles this year. And just to remind everybody, that's August the 18th. The Winnipeg Rifles kick off their regular season, taking on the Edmonton Wildcats. That's a home opener, so stay tuned for that. And you'll see Griffin and Mathe out there along with everybody else from the Rifles. We're going to have head coach Jordy Wilson on this program at some point in the near future before the season as well. So definitely stay tuned for all of that. Thanks again to the Sport for Life Center, Sport Manitoba, and the Manitoba Sports Hall of Fame, and Ken Plain, our good buddy behind us, for having us and housing us for today's episode of the Football Show. We'll be back at you in 2 weeks' time. Thanks everybody for tuning in.